I have this sneaking suspicion that since you all are homeschoolers like us, you might be weird like us in other ways too. For example, maybe you want to live on hundreds of acres of land. Maybe you want to get some chickens and a family cow, some pigs, grow your own food. Maybe you'd even like to be able to be completely self-sufficient or go off-grid. And if so, this video I hope will resonate with you. We were able to have the opportunity to go to the Food Independence Summit up in Amish Country. For us, it's up. I don't know where it's at for you. And we went with some of our very best friends. There's 6 of us total, so 3 families. We all have a lot of kids. We all homeschool, similar values. And this is just really a dream that all of us have, to be able to live on land that we can pass down to our kids, to grow our own food, to grow medicinal herbs, and do all of those things that really seem like lost skills. For this video, it's going to actually be a vlog of that. And if this is something that you are super interested in, we actually are all starting a channel together because the dream is for us to be able to get land all together. And yeah, we're really, really big on just doing life together. So you're gonna get to kind of see our friends in this video, hear from some of them. And if this is something that you're interested in, you can hop on over there, and I'm gonna put the link down in the description box. So we are about to embark on an adventure. We just dropped our kids off at my parents' house for a couple days, and we're gonna go and pick up our friend group. You might have noticed from the title that, we're thinking of living on a compound is what we've kind of been calling it. We've been thinking about getting land with our closest friend group, and all of us living there on separate pieces of land, but all joined together, and kind of sharing the fruits of our labor. So doing our animals together, the ones that we're all interested in. We would all have our own separate gardens and stuff like that. But for the next couple days, we are going to be in Amish Country, and we're going to be learning about growing food sustainably. Like Joel Salatin. There's hubby.
Morning.
It's very early out. The sun's not even fully up yet. But yeah, so we just wanted to bring you along for this so you can kind of see what's gonna possibly, hopefully, be going on in our lives coming up over the next couple of years. So here's our crazy crew. First up is Cassie. Her and her husband, Tony, who's in the front seat with my husband. You'll see him in a minute. They already have a little homestead that they have been working on. She is goals on so many things, and I know that you guys are going to love her as you get to know her. Next up are James and Carrie. They are just so much fun. You can see them holding hands there. They're adorable. They have discipled so many different couples as far as marriage goes. They are so strong in their faith, and just some of the most funny and enjoyable people that you could ever meet. Up in the front is Tony, our resident jokester. He loves to just mess with literally everyone all the time. Nothing is ever dull when you're around Tony. But I'll also say that he's one of the best friends you could possibly have. He also runs his own handyman business and has been in more Spartan races than I can count. So the way that this summit worked, there were speakers in the morning starting at 8:30, and there would be several speakers, one right after the other, and they would talk up until it was time to go and have lunch, which, we had meal tickets, so we got some super yummy Amish food. And then afterwards, there were like breakout workshops that you could choose which ones that you wanted to go to. So the very first person that we actually got to hear was Joel Salatin. If you know anything about like rotational grazing and pastures, the man is a wealth of knowledge. That's not the only thing, but usually that's the thing that first sucks people in. And then they start realizing he really, really knows his stuff. But we have several of his books, and we've seen him, of course, like on YouTube and stuff with Justin Rhodes. So it was super surreal to be able to actually be there in person, listening to one of his talks. And I mean, we got to be there for a few different times that he was speaking. So his first talk was on working with your kids so they'll want to work with you. I could see the homeschooling community really enjoying a lot of what he had to say. He talked about hard work. He talked about responsibility, but also giving them that room to grow and be creative and pursue their own interests, to let them go ahead and start a business when they're between the age of 8 and 11, because that's a really good time. They're not self-conscious yet like those older teens, but like they have a good enough grasp of like money and things like that to understand how stuff works. It was all just very, very good. I have a feeling that you guys would love it. So if you've never looked into Joel Salatin and you're interested in homesteading at all, he is just a wealth of information. Here is a clip from his speech.
Probably the most critical thing I can say on this, and this will be one thing for you young parents. This will be worth the whole weekend, okay? Never give time-oriented tasks, only task-oriented tasks. What in the world does that mean?
So there he was talking about the difference between task-oriented versus time-oriented. Like, you need to do such and such thing for 5 minutes versus you need to get this certain thing done. It's an entire different outlook. And so he was reminding us as parents to be more task-oriented and not focus on time, because then they're not actually worried about getting the thing done that they need to be done. It's just like they're looking at the clock. They're ready to clock out, just like that 9-to-5 job. So that was definitely a helpful bit of information there, but there was so much in his talk. I would not have even been able to record everything. That was awesome. So some other talks that I didn't get any clips from on the first day. There was one on seed independence. There was another one on increasing your soil power naturally. That one was super informational. It got very sciencey as well, which I like. I took some good notes on that one. It gave me a lot of things to think about as far as soil health. We had people there talking about the flood that happened down in Kentucky and, how to help people out more with that. And then we heard from a guy named Michael Kilpatrick. I don't know if you've ever heard of him before. He is really, really great at marketing. And so we got all sorts of ideas for ways that we can fund ourselves while on our farm, just different things that we can do off the land, different products and stuff that we could sell to our local community, and also just be a voice in our community for actual true health and going back to basics. So that was a really, really good talk, full of information. It was another one that I didn't feel like I could really write fast enough. He is definitely an idea guy. And then last but not least, there was Justin Rhodes, who is really big on YouTube. I don't know if any of you know who Justin Rhodes is, but if you don't, I highly recommend that you go check out his channel. They're also homeschoolers. Their channel doesn't really focus much on that. It focuses more on the family. They do daily vlogs. Actually, I don't know if he still does them every day anymore. I'm pretty sure that he does. And it's focusing more just on their whole life in general. You don't normally see the kids doing homeschool or anything like that, but you really get to know their family. You get to see how their farm works, and it's very inspirational and feels like, even though this is hard work, it's rewarding. It's work that's worth it. And it gives you the sense that you can definitely do it. And that's what his first talk was actually on. It's called If I Can Homestead, You Can Too.
Hey, y'all have been sitting a while, so I'm gonna give you a little break. We're gonna play a little game. If you are at a homesteading food summit event on a Wednesday, when all the normal people are at work, couldn't afford it, so you know what we did? You can raise 24 chickens just as easy as 12, and so we raise more than we need and share the excess. So challenge yourself, how can I? When you find yourself saying, I can't.
So in it, he talked about some of his mistakes that he made, which he always is telling things from like a story perspective, so it's super funny and engaging and interesting. They were all, I think, things that we had heard about on his channel before, but it was fun to be able to see him live. We're usually looking through a screen, so it was a little bit different. And then he also talked about like keys to success. People who actually succeed at something, what are they like? So it was a very encouraging talk. And he was the last speaker of that day for the morning session. And then we got to get some grub. And then after eating, we broke out into our workshops. All the guys, I think, went to one on composting that Joel Salatin, the first guy that I was talking about, he was doing that on composting. And they got so much out of it. They loved it. I think all of them mentioned it as like one of their favorite things was learning about the composting a little bit more and having some out-of-the-box ideas that people don't normally talk about or think about when it comes to composting. All of us ladies first went to a workshop where we learned to make Amish noodles. Super yummy, and they're actually really easy. So that was a lot of fun. I've already ordered my noodle maker, so I will be making our noodles from scratch now. Maybe not always, but hopefully. I definitely want to work towards always cooking from scratch. So some other ones that our group attended that day were the family cow, seed saving, raising turmeric and ginger, sourdough simplified. And I think that the guys also went to a chicken butchering one, which they've all actually done before. Our friends Cassie and Tony, they already have a small homestead, and James and Carrie, our other friends, have farmed before. So it's something that all of the guys have already participated in. Chris has helped butcher Cassie and Tony's chickens. So it was just kind of going and seeing it done in person and hearing, again, I think that was a Joel Salatin one, yeah. And hearing Joel talk about it just while they were there. So when we were all finished with workshops and stuff for the day, we headed to a delicious Amish diner. So good. And then there was actually a concert by Rory Feek going on back at the summit. So we headed back to that. Carrie already knew all about him. She had followed the story with him and his wife Joey before. And if you don't know about it, they were country singers together, both Christian, and they had a little daughter together named Indy. But unfortunately, Joey, his wife, ended up passing away from, I think, cancer. And he actually sang one of the songs that she used to sing while we were there watching the concert. But it was really nice to be able to see him. Our friend Carrie actually got to meet him, and we got some pictures of that. So yeah, that rounded out day number 1. All right, so that is officially a wrap on day 1 of this little adventure with all of our friends. And I was just gonna go around and get everybody's opinions on the first day, things that they learned, whatever they wanna talk about. All right, Cassie's first. What do you think?
We had a lot of fun. I think they were all really good. Everything was really interesting. But most of our favorite probably was Joel Salatin. He's just so, like, just even as a speaker, he's like, he makes you think you're just having a conversation with him and learning so much, and then he's done and you realize he's finished at exactly the right time. He's gone through all 10 of his bullet points, easy peasy, and you're like taking notes because it's all just so good. And he talked about family, and so, you know, just the idea of how to include them, and really good tips from things, you know, he's lived. So fun. I really enjoyed that. I mean, all the speakers were good. We liked the there was a guy, I don't remember his name. He talked about soil. The soil guy. He was, I loved the science, bringing in all of the research, and like, you know, they're actually hands in the dirt. He's like, I didn't prepare much for my thing. Sorry, I was busy working in gardens. Like, he's actually doing these things and doing the research, and like really improving soils on a small scale, big scale. He said he liked working with small gardeners, and it was just, it was really interesting. I think I would definitely want to learn more. It just kind of whet your appetite for that, because like, oh, there's so much I could learn to actually do to improve things. that you know, just so many possibilities. You're like, okay. He said for $40 in a small garden, you could do so much. And I'm like, here's my $40. Just do it. Just make it better. I don't know. Tell me what to do. And then Justin Rhodes was really good, but we always like watching his videos and everything. So it's just very relatable and personable. Little less instructional, maybe, but it was a lot of fun. You know, maybe less instructional because we've been following him on YouTube. So we've already heard a lot of stories or like know his background a little more, but it was still really good. It was just, my favorite part is just being around so many people that are weird like us, because at home we're the weird ones, and then you get to go and be around all these people that are excited about the same kind of things. It's just fun. I like the community, and everybody's just so excited about all of it, and just so many different backgrounds. There was a lot of Amish people, or people that looked Amish, maybe Mennonite, I don't know. There's a lot of variety because we're here in Amish country in that way. Different backgrounds and people that have traveled to come, and it's fun. I don't know. I liked it.
All right, who's next?
I'll do it.
Tony Garcia.
I'll do it.
In here making bacon.
Yeah, BLTs at 10 o'clock at night. I really enjoy just all the people that think like us. It's like, oh, we're not the only people doing this on this side of the country. I don't know. It felt nice. Joel Salatin was awesome. I always like learning from him. It's really, like, he's really efficient about everything. It's nice. And then Justin Rhodes is, I like him too. He does a lot of, like, I don't have to work as hard as people think we have to work. We can do it in a much better way that's not going to drive us into the ground and kill us. And then all the different logistics and all that stuff was fun. The marketing and how we could make money on it. It was pretty cool. And the workshops were good, and all the different vendors were cool. It was nice. It was fun.
Nice. But a friend of ours messaged me when I said we're watching Joel Salatin right now. She said, careful, he makes it look really easy. He makes it seem really simple, like it's not always that simple. But he's like, you're like, well, yeah, obviously, that's so easy. I could do that in my sleep.
What about you, Carrie? What was your favorite?
I liked a lot of them. I went and got the book because I wanted to know his name. The soil guy was Joel Kurtz.
Yes.
He was really good, and I just wanted him to come visit my house. And I don't know, I feel like anything he would make, even if it was great soil, make it better. I did find it very interesting where he was talking about healthy soil producing healthy plants and even becoming insect repellent.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting. So he was definitely one of my favorites, and one that I just don't feel like I got enough of, that I just wanted more. I really enjoyed Joel a lot. He's very informational, but not just on how to do it, but really how to integrate your entire family into it. Mm-hmm. So, and I enjoyed that aspect of it. And then Justin was definitely very entertaining. And I got to meet Rory Feek tonight. So he was very nice, and we got to listen to him play some music. So all in all, great day.
What about you, Chris?
So,
Cool boy.
I enjoyed the whole thing. So, like a lot of other people have already told you, we follow Joel Salatin, we follow Justin Rhodes. You know, we've watched a lot of videos. We've kind of kept up with their YouTube stuff. So, both of them were great. I do enjoy the garden. That's probably one of my biggest passions, although everybody makes fun of me because I really want sheep. But I really enjoyed the marketing aspect. What was that guy's name?
Yeah.
Kilpatrick.
Michael
Kilpatrick.
Michael Kilpatrick. He delivered a lot of marketing information, which is kind of up my alley. And it was just really cool to see like different intricacies and ways that you can really make money with the farm, things that you may not think about. So I enjoyed that.
day number 2 started bright and early. So we left our Amish Country B&B, got all packed up and headed off to the morning session with the speakers. And it started off with the CEO of Azure Standard. I don't know if you know who they are. If you know anything about the homesteading community, then you probably saw last year when their warehouse caught fire. They weren't the only ones. It happened to several different food distribution type places, but theirs was one of them. He just got the call in the middle of the night that the warehouse was on fire. They have no idea what caused it, probably never will, but they've already rebuilt, and they have very high standards for the things that they sell. They have a passion for things that are truly organic. They grow a lot themselves, and then anything that they sell from someone else, it really has to meet exactly what they want it to be like for them to include it. So I highly recommend that you check out Azure Standard. What they do basically, if you order something from them, then it gets delivered to the drop-off for them that's closest to you. So we have one in our town that we can order stuff and then go to the drop-off and pick it up there. So you just have to get on their website and look and see if they have a drop-off location near you. They have tons of them. When he showed the map during his talk, it was lit up all across the country. So if it's something that you're interested in, you can go check it out. I really liked his talk. I actually caught a really good moment. He was, I think, probably the only speaker who actually got a really loud audience clap during the middle of his speech. The other ones, even though they were entertaining, you know, lots of funny people and everything, and very engaging, his actually got a clap here, so I'll go ahead and show you his clip.
After all, isn't our personal safety the most important thing? And our financial safety? Isn't that the most important thing? Isn't it always? Guys. Or is purpose first? I mean, we have huge amounts of folks that need product directly off the farms that is healthy and straightforward because, you know, autoimmune disease, how much is there? That can stop, guys. We don't have to have that. That's directly related to diet. But if we're afraid to make those changes, you know, everyone tells us to be afraid. After all, didn't we just have a couple of years of nothing but fear? Hey, are you afraid to go out without a mask? Are you afraid to go out and visit your grandma? Are you afraid to do this and that? Heck, yeah. Be afraid, be afraid, be afraid. Heck no. Let's just, man. It's about living our life with purpose. And if our purpose isn't greater than our fears, then we have the wrong purpose.
Something else that was really interesting that he talked about that I did not get on camera, he was talking about the mercury dust, seeing mercury dust on the seeds. I think it was his dad was like, what is this red powder that we put on the seeds? Why do we do this? And when he looked into it, he realized that that dust was actually mercury, which is very interesting because actually seeds that I got, I think last year from my dad, he had gotten it from a farmer out in his area and they were covered with the red dust. And I kind of wondered like, what are those? I didn't even end up using them. But I had kind of wondered like, what is that red dust? And it apparently, it has mercury in it. So if you put that into your soil, it doesn't go away. And that is going into the food as well. And that's the type of stuff that does not happen at Azure Standard. So after him, then it was back to Justin Rhodes. So his talk on the second day was about growing food for health and wellness. And he talked about it in different categories. So, you know, keeping yourself healthy, keeping your spouse healthy, your kids, your animals. And then he also talked about keeping your future healthy. So that was another really, really good talk. Both him and his wife, Rebecca, have health issues. And that's one of the main reasons that they grow their own food. It's worth it because you know exactly what's going into it. You know how those animals were treated. You know that they got the very best and were rotated on a pasture. You know the compost that went into that garden. So that's one of the main reasons why they do it, which sometimes when we're healthy, we don't always think about that sort of thing and what all the processed foods from the grocery store are putting into our bodies. And this is not me shaming anyone if you have to shop at the grocery store. Right now, I have to shop at the grocery store, but my goal is to be able to grow my own food, our own food for a whole family, and not feed those things that I don't want going into our bodies, into our family anymore.
The Weston A. Price Foundation podcast, and what was interesting, they get a lot of health nuts on there, and you'll get somebody on there talking about cold exposure or sun exposure and this and that, exercise, and I'm thinking in my head, wait a minute, all these health gurus, we could get it all in one if we would just homestead. Like, what do we want for our kids? Well, I want my kids to grow up and contribute more to society than they're taking. Not even to just be even, but I want them to contribute more. We also want them to be able to work hard. I fear for some homeschoolers, actually, because at least in the public school system, children are having to do something they don't want to do for 7 hours a day. And that, at least, could build character. And if we're not careful, they'll be the bosses of the future. We have to have our homeschool children do difficult things. And that's why it's good to be on a farm. Because, a lot of times, the homeschool, you're done in 2-3 hours. And then the kids do whatever the heck. And they're really not made to do anything hard. And they end up just being a bunch of softies. So we got to do hard things, and it's okay. And they say, how do you get your kids to go out there and do the chores? It's not like I have some secret. How do I get myself to do it sometimes? It sucks sometimes. A lot. I make them. Whatever it takes, we're going to do hard things.
So next up was Cindy Ball. It was encouraging to hear her story because I've had something similar happen to me before. Unfortunately, she has gone through a divorce previously that completely rocked her world. I totally understand that. I don't know how many of my followers on YouTube know, but I was married before Chris, and divorce is very, very hard. It's like ripping yourself in two. And so I was able to really connect to her story on that level, but also what she was talking about was authentic community, which all the things that she mentioned were things that are very, very pertinent to me and my friends. We were all there together, and that is definitely like our community, our people. And so we resonated a lot with her message.
That's quite a juggling act, is it not? Yeah. I've actually come up with a term. It's called homesteading. We just do it all together. It's all school. It's all homesteading. But during those 6 years, what I realized was that weirdness, as much as I loved it, and I embraced it, because pretty much all my life I bucked the system. I don't fit in anybody's box. And I loved homesteading. Like, everything within me wanted to do this. But along with your weirdness comes loneliness. Now, I was never alone, because remember I said I had 6 children. And I was never alone. But loneliness, yes.
So the next speaker after her was Sarah Plain and Tall, who does lots of canning stuff on TikTok. You can also follow her on Instagram. I don't have a TikTok, but I've seen one of her videos before, actually, and I didn't realize it until about halfway through her talk when she mentioned something that she had talked about in that video, and I was like, wait a minute, that's the girl, I remember her. Canning was actually passed down to her, which is something that isn't true for most families, I mean, my grandparents would have canned, but it didn't get passed on to my mom, so it didn't get passed on to me, and it's something that now I'm going back and trying to learn. I have not been super successful in all of my canning endeavors thus far, but I'm gonna keep at it because it's really, really important. So hers was super informational. She had lots of slides, lots of statistics and figures to just show the value of this and why we do it, and that it's not just stockpiling. This is like being able to shop your own pantry, right? Being able to grow all the things that you need and can them during the right seasons, so that then you have them in the time of year when you're not able to grow and can things anymore.
Our food prices started to go up, our shelves started to go a little bit bare, and I think we started to see that our systems that we've created for ourselves might be a little bit fragile. And we all started looking at, how can I gain food independence? How can I get back to the basics? And here today you have a unique opportunity to meet with all of these people that teach those things. How to grow your own food, how to take care of your soil, your land, take care of your animals. But the one thing that is super important on the tail end of that is once you grow all that food and once you get it, what are you going to do with it?
After her was Joel Salatin again, and this time he was talking about home-based abundance. I could not write fast enough. I was taking so many notes. Again, like, he just has so many ideas, starting with what to produce and design aspects of your farm, to different, like, stacking, being able to stack things that you're growing, which is like a permaculture concept. So maybe having some vegetables growing, but then above those you can have grapevines trellised and growing. You can even have a grapevine climbing up a tree, like an apple tree or something like that, some type of fruit tree in an orchard type setting. And then above that you can even have nut trees growing because they're taller. So just this whole concept of like stacking different things. You're maximizing your square footage, being able to grow all of these things in close proximity to one another. So he talked about that. He talked about microclimates within your farm. He talked about fertility of the soil, all kinds of different stuff. Like, I'm telling you, I literally could not write fast enough. It was like a 40-minute talk, but oh my goodness, such a wealth of information. It was awesome.
Through a month or two of growing season or starting. And then if you put your cold frame in that same spot, you've actually accentuated the cold frame. So reflective sides are good. Roof runoff. If you've got an eave where you've got water runoff and you've got condensation, you got a metal roof, condenses in the summer. You notice how a lot of times in the summer you go out on a hot July day and off your barn roof you see drip, 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 water's dripping off the roof. Well, that's the cool metal roof condensing the dew from the morning, and it runs off the roof. Well, put garden beds right under that roof, and then you can add hugelkultur. You can make hugelkultur beds under your barn roof. Now the animals don't grow up and make mud holes around the barn, and you get advantage of all that extra runoff, and the runoff doesn't create an erosion problem around the garden, around the barn, because it goes into your hugelkultur bed, which then grows, magnificent plants which can trellis up the side of the barn. Okay, are you with me? Okay. So
then I thought it was kind of neat. They were allowing people to give feedback on the event. We didn't actually stick around for that part. We went ahead and jumped in the line for the Amish lunch that was going on because, oh my gosh, it's just so good. And then after that, the workshops for the day, I have my notebook from the event here that I'm checking out. Chris and I went to an introduction to beekeeping. We really want to have hives eventually. It's just something that we're interested in, so we went to that. I then also went to keeping your family healthy with limited access to medical care. That was the other one. I probably took more notes on that one than I did the entire time, which that was like an hour-long session. The woman who was doing it, her name is Dr. Jocelin Whitaker. You can look her up. She's a doctor in Amish Country, and she's a naturalist. So she uses herbs, tinctures, and teas, but she really knows her stuff. So she covered all sorts of different plants that we could use in different situations. She talked about wounds and how to care for those. She showed us her DIY naturalist first aid kit and everything that she has in there, from manual blood pressure and thermometers that don't take batteries, just the normal manual ones, but without the mercury inside of them. I mean, just all kinds of stuff that I would not have even known about. So I was really thankful for her workshop because that's something that I'm interested in, but I don't feel like I knew enough about. And if you try to research stuff online, sometimes it takes you off in rabbit trails. Like, it had me studying homeopathy, which isn't really the same thing as natural medicine. So it was really nice to actually get to hear from a naturalist and the types of things that she does.
When somebody gets injured, you want to keep them hydrated. Hydration is super important. Comfrey staff. Comfrey has a neat nickname. Foamset. Not boneset, that's another herb, or bone net.
So after her session, we were all kind of tired. The guys did go and talk to Joel Salatin. I got to just briefly say hi and get a picture with him, but that was really cool. That was one of Chris's favorite things, was getting to actually talk to him, and they, I guess, talked for a good little while. So that was really cool. My friends also got to talk to Cindy Ball, who we had really all resonated with. She was the one who I mentioned talked about community and all of that, which is really important for us. So here they are getting to chat with her for a bit. But after that, you know, it was the end of the day on Thursday. We were kind of tired, and there were a couple other stops that we wanted to make. You can't go to Amish Country without getting cheese. So, of course, we had to go to Heine's and get some cheese. We stopped and got some ice cream, and then we went back on the road, stopped at a little diner somewhere else for food, picked up the kiddos, and headed home. Okay, so we quite literally just walked into our house. We had a full rest of our day up in Amish Country at the conference. I just wanted to go ahead and take a minute to record a bit while things were still fresh, since it just happened earlier this day. So day 2 was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed ourselves. We learned so much. If you are interested in homesteading, which I would think that if you're watching this, that means that you probably are. But if you're interested in it, I cannot recommend Joel Salatin to you enough. We got so many ideas from him today. He is just such a wealth of knowledge. Also, I forgot to mention from day 1, we did get to meet Justin Rhodes. Don't ask me how awkward that I was when I met Justin Rhodes. I promise it was not like a starstruck thing, but it is kind of weird because you're used to like watching people on YouTube. And so there's like a screen between you, and suddenly I was right in front of him and my brain went blank, and I realized that like this is a person who I feel like I know, but who obviously doesn't know me. So it was just this whole thing. I don't know. I couldn't get my brain to work. I was very, very awkward. So, you know, sorry, Justin Rhodes, not that he's ever going to see that. But we really, really enjoyed ourselves. We learned about beekeeping and different recipes that we can use. I learned a ton about medicinal herbs, and even the ones that the sessions that weren't packed with a ton of information, most of them were still really encouraging and motivational. If they continue to have these food independence summits, I highly recommend that you go if you are interested at all in your own food independence. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a full homestead. Maybe you're in a more urban setting, or you know, you kind of live in the suburbs, but you could still have a garden, or depending on your area, you could still have chickens or rabbits for meat. So just different things that we can do to make sure that we have food security. So overall, just closing thoughts, the summit was absolutely awesome. If you can go next year, I highly suggest that you do it. It is well worth it. And not to mention, like, all of these speakers, they have booths there so that you can go and talk to them and meet them, ask questions. There were, you know, people signing books and giving them away. There's all sorts of sales going on and other types of giveaways too, drawings, all sorts of things. They were giving away a barn that they raised during that time. It was a whole little Amish barn raising type situation. There were animals there that you could see. There was a whole children's tent full of fun activities for them to do if you want to bring your kids. It was just a really, really good time and so worth it. We didn't really want to leave other than I was ready to see my kids, but it was just so nice there, and it's what we're wanting. The rolling hills and looking out in the morning and seeing the cows and hearing the sheep bleat.
Yeah, he wants food.
It was all just picturesque and simple and peaceful, and it's exactly what we're wanting to do, to have a life that is not so busy, but instead is simplified, back to basics, still hard work, but rewarding work. So if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to go over to our new channel. It's called Sow and Grow Together, and it will be all about us quite literally sowing and growing things together, but also on that deeper level of sowing those spiritual seeds and growing closer together. I will catch y'all next time. Bye.
You don't want to go, Chris? Even that thing?
It won't stay this size.
Right there, Chris.
Yeah, these must be pygmy.
I stopped and he like fell over.